cut the cord. You don't need a shield, you just need a sword. It's not the miles you run, it's the angle of the gun. It's not the heavy load, it's the code in the road. One tiny turn, let the old ways burn. Are you ready to turn? Just 2 millimeters away. Just 2 messes 2 millimeters away. So change the angle, the world is yours.
All right, guys, Josh Beecraft here. Hopefully you guys like that intro a little bit better than what I've done before. I told you I was going to amplify the energy, the experience, all of that stuff. That is what we're doing. But listen, let's get right to it. Did you know that you are being played by a game you probably didn't even know you were playing? What are we talking about today? So this is something that I think is not talked about enough. And I'm going to warn you, I'm going to get a little bit deep in the weeds with some psychology here, but I promise you I'm going to make it easy to understand and relatable. And hopefully you walk away with an interesting little 2 millimeter shift that will allow you to have some more leverage as you go forward in life. So what is this game that I'm talking about? This game is summed up by one simple word. It's just a few letters and it means everything. Now, when I say everything, I don't mean it means everything. Like it's not a euphemism. It's not like I'm just saying, hey, it's really important, right? No, what I mean is that it means everything, right? The reason it means everything is because your entire life revolves around it, which means everybody's life revolves around it, which means our entire world revolves around it. And when I say this word, you're going to think something different than what I mean. So just warning you. Now, enough being cryptic about it, right? This is the word. The word is status, okay? Now, usually when I say the word status, somebody thinks that means watches and cars and money and success and awards and all of that. And listen, those things are a form of social status for sure within our communities, right? That's not the status I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about the status within our own worldview. See, we obviously know that we have beliefs and we believe in certain things and we believe certain things to be true, certain things to be false, certain things to be good, bad, right, wrong, all of these polarities that sort of shape our identity, right? And what we don't realize all the time is that all of those are actually shaped around a status that promotes one specific core psychological fundamental. And that there's actually 3 of them I'm going to cover, but there's one core that overrides all of it. And that is your own sense of safety in any sort of situation or environment. Now, obviously, there's points in the world where you're actually physically not safe, right? Like there's places you could go where you would be physically not safe right now. That's the most extreme version of what I'm talking about. If you've ever felt unsafe in a simple conversation that you weren't even a part of, that's closer to what I'm talking about, right? This sense of uncertainty of your ability to be welcomed in the situation, right? Is one way to put it. Another way to put this sense of safety is like public speaking is a really good example of it. People feel naked and vulnerable when they get up on stage to speak because of all of the social implications, right? There's a fear that associates with that because like, what if I'm not good? Or what if people don't like it? Or what if the message I try to do doesn't land? What if I fart on stage, right? Like there's so many things that could happen and people shut down as their nervous system shuts off as a safety mechanism because it's higher status to stay safe than it is to risk the communication, right? And that's why we got to get comfortable with things because then once we get comfortable, we have a sense of safety around it. So how does this status thing matter, right? I don't want to just belabor all of the ways that you could feel unsafe. I just want you to understand the core structure here. Status in relation to safety is first. In relation to control is an extension of that. In relation to connection is another extension to that. And those things, different mixtures of that compile to a sense of significance. That's love starts to come out when there's a lot of safety around, right? So connection, as long as the foundation of safety is there, the foundation of control is there, love can flourish. If that gets challenged, immediately people go back to control or security, right? That's the status hierarchy that we're dealing with inside of ourselves. So how do you use that as a 2 millimeter shift, right? Like, how does that give you leverage in the world? Well, here's the deal. I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and he was dealing with a very sensitive situation. It was timely, it mattered, and he needed the input from somebody who was an actual expert in the situation. And that person that was the expert was maybe not as comfortable as they would have liked to be involved in the conversation. Even though they put themselves there, they were having a sense of this status thing of going like, oh, wow, did I risk something with this? Even though they didn't, but their own sense was maybe they did, right? And I remember having this conversation, and I said, look, here's the deal. The situation when somebody's in that place, they're up against their own sense of safety and security. And guys, anytime somebody's not moving in the direction that you've very clearly laid out for them, they've got all the info, they can make all the decisions. I would say almost anytime they're not moving that way, it's because of some challenge to their own sense of safety or security, right? And that ends up being a status play. You're not going to be higher status. Whatever you're talking about will not move them to higher status than the thing they perceive to take away their safety. So my advice to them was listen, for this to work, the person needs to be able to say no to say yes. This is a really important piece of advice. When you want anybody to say yes to something, they have to know that it's okay to say no. Chris Voss is wildly popular for talking about this from a more nuanced strategy. He's a former FBI negotiator. He wrote one of the best books on influence in persuasion there is, called Never Split the Difference. It's actually negotiation is his trade. And in there, he talked about the idea of like when you ask somebody to do something, you ask it in a way that they can naturally respond no instead of yes, because just saying no is a different physiology. It connects a different thing primally than saying yes. So what does that mean in this situation? If somebody isn't saying yes, it's very often because they don't feel like it's okay to say no. Now, that's a heavier implication, right? If you're in a sales situation, it's certainly not that case. Like, people don't have a problem saying no, but if you're pushing and pushing and pushing and they're not going anywhere and they start to feel like it's not okay to say no with you, they just shut you off, right? That's why a good salesperson understands this line of safety and security, giving them the benefit of the doubt on being able to make their own decisions. And they'll give them that through a language pattern, right? Hey, listen, I understand. I've got the same situations when I make decisions in my life, right? I have to consult my significant other to have any sort of big financial commitments that way. But let me ask you something. If a week goes by or a month goes by and that decision's not made, did you gain something or lose something? Right? Now, you see how that's different than going, well, I don't understand. You have all the information. Like, I think you can make the decision very clearly without your significant other, don't you? Like, some people do that, right? Like, aren't you a man, or aren't you in charge, or whatever? And they'll play to this sense of control. And listen, sometimes it works, right? But like, then buyer's remorse is just 100 times more likely. So this entire concept, I want you to just look for opportunities in your life to see where somebody might not be safe saying no. See where their status is challenged within their own worldview to be able to hear or listen to what it is that you say. Sometimes I do this, right? There's another example of this. I'm very cerebral in what I do, and sometimes I talk with a lot of passion about really complex things like they're just simple and everybody should get it, right? Like it's a foregone conclusion. And some people look at that and go, I can't hang with that. And I'm not talking about me being so good. Like, it's not nothing to do with any of that. And the truth is, I'm marginally good at a couple of things, right? But the bigger point here is like they shut down their internal sense of safety because they didn't feel qualified to move at the same speed that I might be, right? So I have to account for that when I'm doing a presentation and make sure that I can make somebody feel safe within the information I'm sharing, even if I'm just talking about AI, right? when you start to think about things through this lens, you can start to ask a higher quality question, which produces a higher quality answer. Is what I'm doing allowing the people that I want to influence to feel safe at all times? What things could make them feel less than safe? And I mean that emotionally and mentally, not actually physically, right? Hopefully you're not doing anything that's making people feel physically unsafe, right? But I want to expand on this concept a lot more. I could spend, probably a good hour unpacking this. And identity structures and dynamics is something that I've been doing a lot, training my private group on right now. And I will do a workshop on it in my upcoming workshop series, where we really break down the things that move identity the most. If you tune in tomorrow, I'm going to talk about something that's really important that plays into this status thing. And that's going to be defining your enemy. And when we really get into the dynamics of that, you're going to understand that one thing is such a huge percentage of just understanding human psychology in general. You will instantly be better at influence in any way, shape, or form that you want. So with that, I look forward to seeing you there. I hope this was at least something that sparked an idea, at least something you can start to look for tactically in your world and just evaluate from their perspective. Is it possible they just don't feel safe enough right now to engage with me where I'm asking them to? If the answer is yes, that's possible, that starts to open the door on how you can create that safety to allow the influence to happen the way that you want to, always and hopefully for their benefit and highest outcome. I don't want any of this stuff used negatively, because it can be for sure. But with that, this is Josh. This is 2mm Shift. I appreciate you being here. And if you haven't signed up for my workshop series yet, go over to 2mmshift.me/workshops and sign up to get on the wait list. We're going to be starting these workshops next month. And guys, I got some cool stuff unfolding for you. So thank you so much.